Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be doing a thermal pad replacement on my reference 3060 Ti. And just so you know what card the reference is, I'm sure you do if you're looking how to replace the thermal pads, but for everyone else who doesn't know, they are the cards that are made directly by Nvidia themselves, and they look like these. So for today, the thermal pads that I'm going to be using will be from Glid Solutions, and you can get them on Amazon. I'll provide a link in the descriptions if you want to buy these exact pads. You don't need these ones. You can use whichever pads you prefer. Just make sure that they are 2 millimeters. And I will put up an image that shows the sizes and where they're located on the card. Alright, so here's my 3060 Ti reference edition from Nvidia. And to take it apart, we need to take off these 6 torque screws. And it's either an 8 or a 9. I have an 8, and it's just a little wiggly. It looks like a 9 would fit perfect, but this 8 works fine. So it's this one that I'm using, it is a, probably can't see it, but it is a, let's see, no, you're not gonna be able to see it. Well, anyway, it's a torque T8 bit. Alright, so once you have it down to, once you take the back plate off, you need to, alright, so then we remove, so there's these 2 ribbon cables, and these are for the fans. These are the most important things you have to worry about. You do not want to break these. If you break these, you are in a load of hurt. So what you do is, there's these little let's see if I can get it. Let's get it too bright. Let's see if it'll let me. So on the little connector, there's, you see that little black piece. That black piece is like a lever. You want to raise it up, so I'm gonna use just like that. Use some tweezers. So let me see if I can focus it again. So you see the lever's up now, and then you basically just want to try and wiggle this cable out. Like that. Pull it out. You can see it's completely off. And then you want to do the same to this one down here. Just pop this little. Just let me lift it up again so it's right there down in that corner. Just pop the lever up. So you can see the lever real quick. So you see the lever's up, and you just want to, don't try, like, these are the most fragile thing on this card, so you don't want to break them, so just give it a little wiggle. I like these pliers, honestly. Let me get these other ones. Pliers, I mean tweezers. These ones are a little, yeah. it. So now we just need to take off you have to take off, of course, the retention bracket for the core, and then I believe the only other thing is you have to take off this you have to take off the IO shield. Okay, so this one is a T5. Right, so then now the next ones are the ones on the IO shield, and it looks like it's exactly the same as the first one, so a T8. So now this the PCB should be able to just lift free, and just be cautious of your two cables. And it's gonna be it's basically like glue, so just want to wiggle. Let me make sure that so there you go. There's the PCB. There's the front side of the PCB actually, and cable's good. Just gonna put these levers down for now so that I don't remember. There's, so you have that connector there and that connector there, and so the levers just go up like that and they go back down. So I'm just gonna leave it down. Also going to set, let's see if I can set this right here. You can see it. Now all we need to do is remove all the old thermal pads and clean up the thermal paste and the residue left behind by those pads. I'm not going to change the little small thermal pads. I'm only going to change the big ones. Okay, so I went ahead and cut out the thermal pads and placed them where they're supposed to be. Now the next thing we have to do before we can put the card back together is apply thermal paste. And in this case we are using thermal paste by Noctua, and it is the NT-H2 thermal paste. And one thing I want to point out is that at the beginning of this video I said that I was going to be using Glid Solutions thermal pads, but I wasn't going to have enough, so I actually used the same 2mm thickness thermal pads, but these ones are made by Thermalright, so I'll include both of them in the description of this video. I really recommend the ones by Glid Solutions though. They seem to work a lot better because they're rated for higher wattage. I think they are 12-watt thermal pads, and so I'll post both of those links if you want to get yourself some. Once you have the thermal pads and the thermal paste applied, the next thing we have to do is put the PCB back onto the cooler. Now normally what I'll do is put the cooler onto the PCB so that the thermal pads don't fall off, but in this case, since we have to deal with the cables, I'm just gonna put the PCB onto the cooler. Now when you do this, just be very cautious with the cables because you don't want to pinch them. And also at the same time, you have to make sure the thermal pads do not fall off of the other side of the PCB. So before I attempted this, I tried to smush the thermal pads down as much as I could so they wouldn't fall. And you know, just take your time, hold the cables with one hand and then hold the PCB with the other. And then like right here, the cable is still underneath the PCB, so what I do is lift the PCB up just a little tiny bit on that side, and I use my tweezers to pull out the cable. There's also this little pin that helps you line up the PCB. And so now what I'm gonna do is just screw in the retention bracket and all the screws before attempting to plug in the cables again. And just when you're screwing back in the retention bracket, just make sure you do it in a star pattern so that the tension is distributed evenly. Now let's move on to the most difficult part of this entire ordeal, and that is placing the ribbon cables back into their connector. So just remember that each connector has a little flap, and you want to basically just flip it up, and then you'll be able to slide the cable back into the connector. So the way that I do it is I'll use my finger just to try to line up the cable and get it in just a little bit. And so let me show you this connector. On the ribbon cable itself, you can see there is a little white line. Now that white line has to be touching the connector completely. That's how you know the cable is all the way in. So once I first line the cable up a little bit, I'll use my tweezers to push it all the way in. And then once you get that white line touching the connector, you can flip down the lever. And this is how it should look when it's fully in. If I could get this to focus. All right, there you go. You can see the white line on the ribbon cable is touching the connector. That's how you know it's all the way in. Now we just gotta do that same thing to the opposite side. Now the last thing we need to do is just clean up this side of the PCB and then replace the thermal pad here. Now if you look at the image on the beginning of the video, it shows 3 optional thermal pads, and basically those thermal pads are going to be on the opposite side of the PCB directly behind the memory, and I'm going to add those. And so normally I would put them on the PCB itself, but this backplate has a cutout design of the bracket, and so I applied them to the backplate. Now you can put them on the PCB or you can put them on the backplate. It's up to you. And the only one you need is the one on the left side. You don't need the other 3. They're optional, but it should help dissipate the heat off the backplate even more from behind those memory chips. So that's why I put them there. And so the only thing left to do now is just screw in all 6 of the backplate screws, and we are completely done. So thank you for watching my video. Hopefully it helped you out. Feel free to like, subscribe, and comment below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.